Okay, so again, what are some indicators of neglect? No medical care for the child. Is often sleepy, hungry, dirty, or demonstrates poor hygiene. So, teachers oftentimes are the ones where this is really becomes most evident. Is you have a child who's maybe comes in late all the time, doesn't seem like they're getting enough sleep, hungry, that it's hard for them to even concentrate, and they can't wait to eat something. They come in, their hygiene's poor on a consistent basis, kind of thing. They may not be adequately dressed. So, it's cold and raining and they come in shorts and a t-shirt kind of thing. And if the person or the teacher or someone else at the school notices, wait a minute, they don't have their jacket and it's raining outside, or they don't have appropriate shoes. Lacking appropriate supervision, we already mentioned that, and appears to be malnourished. So if they seem like that they're ill as a result of not eating. So that, again, just potential indicators. Alrighty. Is this abuse? A girl is slapped for screaming at her mother. The slap stings but leaves no lasting mark or pain. What do you guys think? So she's slapped. That's corporal punishment. Remember what we said about the distinction. She's slapped for screaming at her mother, so her mother slaps her. The slap does sting her, but it leaves no lasting mark or pain. You think that how would you classify that? Or would this be something that you would report on potentially?
How old is the little girl?
Let's say she's 6.
I got slapped by my mom when I was 6, so.
What did you slap your mom?
Well, I mean, I've been slapped at like that age, so I mean.
Yes.
Was it on the buttocks?
Face, I think.
Oh, is it?
No, I didn't put that on there. Okay, well, let's just say face. Okay.
For a 6-year-old, that's a little severe.
Okay. I just wanted to tell you that in it by itself, just taken by itself with not a lot of information, because it's like, well, you guys are looking for more information, right? Which is good, because that's what I want you to do. But really, by itself, it's not considered abuse, because it's corporal punishment, which is allowable. It leaves no lasting mark or pain. Okay. However, we're not told how frequent this occurs. If she's done it before, maybe there was swelling or pain. And not to mention, if it is a frequent thing, the emotional kind of impact on the child. However, just pulling it out by itself, it wouldn't be considered, categorized immediately as being abusive. But that's how I want you to think about it, is that you're kind of, well, wait a minute, you have a lot of questions about it. Okay, that's good. All right. A boy is punished in a way that requires stitches. Okay, you're all shaking your heads. Yeah. Okay, as soon as you know, hey, wait a minute, there's some injury. Stitches? Stitches. Okay, right. Okay, so that one's a given. A father burns his daughter's palms with a lighted cigarette when he finds her smoking.
That's abuse.
Okay. Okay. And that would really kind of qualify as kind of unlawful corporal punishment. It is a physical injury. And again, there's going to be, when there's going to be any evidence, particularly with physical abuse, it's not going to go in favor of the parent. Okay, unless they can really sell that it was accidental, which there is a lot of accidents that happen in the home, even with burns and whatnot. But if they're not saying if it actually was intentional and there's injury, that's kind of a slam dunk that it's abusive. Okay. All right. Let's try some more. You guys are good at this. Okay. A boy is grounded for a week for a minor offense. No, right. A boy's arm is broken after wrestling with his father for sport.
No.
That's an accident.
Yes, exactly. Okay. A mother is careless and spills scalding coffee on her daughter who is seriously burned.
If it's a carelessness, that's an accident.
Right, it makes you think, well, wait a minute, it wasn't an intent to, hey, you did something bad and she intentionally burned her, but she accidentally spilled it. However, that might be looked at, right, because if she careless a lot, there could be more injuries. Couple more for you. Okay, a father takes away his son's driver's license for getting a parking ticket. I don't know, I know some teens that would consider that abusive, but you're right, no. Okay, a girl is spanked so hard she is badly bruised, but the father says he didn't mean to hurt her. Okay, that one's a little tougher. He didn't mean to hurt her, but she has the injury. So that may be one that could potentially go to court. And it'll be for the court then to determine, because anytime there's an injury, even the slightest, with the child, it doesn't mean necessarily that he'll lose his daughter, because he may say, hey, I really didn't, it was an accident because I didn't willfully mean to hurt her, but you did. So that one will have to be determined whether or not it really was an accident. A girl is chained to her bed for hours when she does not immediately follow orders.
That's abuse.
That's abuse.
I think chained for a minute would already be.
Yeah, just chained. Right? Well, you chained her to the bed? Oh, really? Okay, yeah. It's odd, right, on the surface of it. Okay. Shoot, I don't have any more of those. But, okay. In any case, I just want you to get a sense that how they play out very differently. There are so many different cases. And I remember there was one case that was on the news several years ago, and I forget what the child did. You focus so much on what the parent did, what? That you forget as if there any real rationale to it. But the kid did something, and what the parent would regularly do is put the kid in a pig costume. Do you guys remember this? In some kind of pig costume, and put them out on the front lawn to stay there for hours with this costume, kind of to humiliate them. And it was on the news because really that would kind of qualify as emotional abuse. It was an odd, sort of peculiar way of punishing your child, and they did it repeatedly. So I remember that one. It's like, what? I've seen that. Okay. All right. So here's where we kind of segue into the development of child protection laws. Okay. So let's resume where we're at. Okay, we're going to segue now into the development of child protection laws. Okay. And again, you'll hear about them over and over, so you don't have to feel like you got to go out remembering all this information about the laws. Okay, and we're really going to focus on camera because that's the one that's relevant to you guys. But first of all, I do want you to know that there's not only state laws for individual states, but there's a federal law. Okay, the federal laws, the Federal Child Abuse Prevention and Treatment Act, okay, created in '74. Okay, 63 though came first with what we call CANRA. It had to do more with reporting and reporting process. Okay, and that's a Child Abuse and Neglect Reporting Act. And that's one that we're going to really get into today. So, CANRA, what's included in this again, it's Child Abuse and Neglect, Child Abuse and Neglect Reporting Act. Okay? We have so many acronyms with everything nowadays. It's kind of crazy making. So what's included in this Reporting Act, it talks about the persons required to report, otherwise known as mandated reporters, which are all of us. Okay. It talks about basic reporting provisions. Okay. Talks about the types of abuse, okay, which we've already covered, so we know that. Possible indicators. Also talks about confidentiality. Okay. Safeguards and immunity for mandated reporters. Okay. So am I liable if I report a suspected child abuse case and it turns out that it wasn't founded can the parent come back and sue me? You know, that kind of thing. So it mentions immunity for mandated reporters and the liability issues for mandated reporters. Okay, and I do want you to be familiar with that because, again, that's relevant to you guys as reporters. What protection do you have under the law? Because, again, we're just going off sometimes bits and pieces of information. It appears like this. We don't know for sure. We don't, you know, we don't know absolutely. That's going to be investigated. Real quickly about the federal law. In '74, there was federal funding to states, okay, to support child abuse prevention, assessment, investigation, prosecution, and treatment activities. So that more has to do with trying to prevent child abuse, okay, and long-term activities to kind of study whether or not it's actually making a difference. It provides a very minimum definition of child abuse and neglect, and identifies the federal government's role in support of research and evaluation. So a lot of the research, especially the national research, is coming from this CAPTA, okay, which there's all kinds of statistics, and you'll get some of that next week. The camera, though, again, has to do with reporting, who's supposed to report, what happens if they report, kind of thing. So what is in California's child abuse and neglect reporting law, and what are your responsibilities as a mandated reporter? That's what we're going to get into right now, okay? And that's under the CANRA law. First of all, they talk about who must report, okay? The official name of this are mandated reporters, and actually within the law, they have a list of who that would include. So preschoolers, you know, child care workers, social work, they have a list of these different occupations. Basically, I just want you to know that all those whose job requires contact in any way with children, which really is, it's quite a bit. You know, firefighters, it's quite a bit that it would include. So child care workers, health practitioners, firefighters, clergy members, okay, members of the church, teachers, counselors, and early intervention specialists. You're specified, at least on here, that you guys are included. And again, if you just think of it, you have contact with children. It's a given. Okay. Okay. So when to report? Okay. When a mandated reporter has knowledge of, okay, so you're getting information, or you actually observe a child whom the mandated reporter knows or reasonably, and that word again, reasonably suspects has been the victim of abuse. So this information has come to you, or you observed a situation that leads you to reasonably suspect. Okay, and that's all this is, so I don't want you to ever think, God, I need to know absolutely. Okay, it's just a reasonable suspicion. Okay, there's a possibility. That is when you want to report. Okay, it's that reasonable suspicion. And I have to tell you that varies with individuals. Okay, which is why we cover this in trainings, because we want to consider, you know, physical injuries. We want to consider behavioral indicators, those kind of things. Next week we'll talk a little bit about some risk factors with parents. Substance abuse kind of goes hand in hand with child abuse oftentimes in the house. So does domestic violence, you know, and discord in the family. So we'll talk next week a little bit about some parental kind of potential indicators. Again, that's what that is. But I want you to know that if you, as an individual, have a reasonable suspicion, and even though I'm your supervisor and you tell me about it, I'm thinking, I don't really think so. I don't know. I think you need more information. But you think, well, wait a minute. I think I have enough information that I cannot prevent you in any way from doing that. So I want you to feel that you guys are determining for yourselves, okay? And no one can hinder that. You may want to consult with your regional director, or, you know, or a coworker, just to get their input. But it's really up to you to make that decision and not let anybody, you know, hinder that.